You head out for a camping trip with 3 others and wind up being tied to a tree and murdered. As that is happening, an attorney is sitting on information where 2 additional bodies are buried, but he tells no one. How these cases are connected and the psychopath in the middle is the focus this week. My name is M. William Phelps. I'm an investigative journalist and the New York Times best-selling author of dozens of true crime books. I've dedicated the past 26 years of my life to helping families of the missing and murdered. Join me. We're crossing the line. Criminal attorney Frank Belge is well known in upstate New York within the Syracuse region of the Adirondacks. One of his passions, when not fighting for his clients in a court of law, is hunting and fishing, both of which the Adirondack Mountains offer in abundance. It's the fall of 1973. Belge and one of his clients, who is also a good friend, Ralph Cackison, are talking one day. Belge reveals to Cackison that he believes the body of a local missing girl, Alicia Houck, is somewhere near the Oakwood Cemetery in Syracuse. Houck has been missing since July of that year, as it were, about 4 months. Well loved and adored by her friends and family, 16-year-old Alicia has one of those 70s-styled hairdos completely germane to the era. Thick, wavy black hair, a noticeable wide part in the center, long locks rolling over her shoulders, with bangs cropped close to both of her brown eyes. Alicia is living in Syracuse, doing what she needs to make sure she doesn't lag behind by attending summer school classes. After class on July 11th, 1973, while returning home, Alicia vanishes. No one sees her, hears from her, or has any idea where she could have gone off to. Throughout that summer, the local police believe she has run away. The family put up flyers around town and placed an ad in the papers asking for Alicia to please come home. Attorney Belge explains to his friend where he can find Alicia's body because, after all, one of Belge's clients had told him where he dumped the young woman. So Belge knew. Yet under the Attorney-Client Privilege Act, Belge claims, he could not say anything to law enforcement or her family, apparently telling his friend that was okay. So Cackison goes out to the cemetery one afternoon, early that fall season, and has a look around. He wants to find out if Belge is telling the truth or just playing some type of sick joke on him, blowing smoke. Cackison later recalls where he began looking in the cemetery, the tangled underbrush. The body is lying someplace in the underdeveloped part of Oakwood Cemetery, Belge had told Cackison before Cackison went out. I had been trying to find it myself, Belge added, along with another person, but because of the very thick underbrush and because I had been out there on several occasions, I stopped. Belge explained that he didn't want anyone to see him. They even went out to the cemetery together one day, and Belge pointed in the approximate location. Several days after that conversation and their trip to the cemetery, Cackison is trudging through that tangled underbrush, and he sees something. I found the body on the first day of my search in the approximate location that Mr. Belge had indicated, Cacason says later in an affidavit. When Cacason called Belge and told him he'd found the girl but wasn't exactly certain it was her, Belge responded, "Oh my God." He was telling the truth. They made plans to meet back out at the cemetery. "Show me where she is," Belge tells Cacason. It took some time to find the area, but Cacason brought Belge down into some brush and he pointed. "There she is." Mr. Belge still wasn't sure it was the body of the girl, Alicia Houck, Cacason later recalls. Why wasn't he sure? Because Alicia had been decapitated. Her head was positioned in one place, her body in another. From my knowledge as a woodsman, Cacason recalls, we concluded that some animal must have moved the head away from the rest of the body. Still, there was no doubt to Belge. It was Alicia Houck, the missing local girl. His client had killed her, dismembered her body, and dumped those body parts in the cemetery. Cacason stood by as Belge took out a camera and began taking photographs. "What do we do now?" Cacason asks Belge. "We do nothing, Ralph," Belge responds. "I am a lawyer, and you must trust me when I say we are both sworn to secrecy, and you must leave the rest up to me." "Okay," Cacason says. "No one knows what trouble you can get into when you take an oath," Belge concludes. I just want to be clear here that all of this dialogue is from the official affidavit in the case, a statement law enforcement later took from Cacason. This is his reflection of those events. And when all is said and done, in this rather bizarre, high-profile case where other bodies will begin to show up, there is no reason not to believe him. One thing on the mind of Cacason, as he stood there with Belge, staring at Alicia's body, a girl the entire county was talking about and searching for over the past 4 months, was that finally her parents would have an answer. They would not have to wonder any longer. Or so he thought. "Damn it, Ralph," Belge then says. "I cannot tell her parents. I cannot bury her. I cannot tell anybody. But the least I can do is put her head back with the rest of her remains." I mean, this sounds like something out of a B horror film from the 1970s. One of those old grindhouse movies. Two guys standing over the dismembered body of a young girl, deciding what to do. Cacason didn't know what to say. He claims that Belge then started to cry while telling him, "Ralph, no matter how hard we know, it is upon the parents. We must remain silent." They left the cemetery together. Belge with his photos of the body, Cacason with confusion and now some certainty. "I said no more, nor did he," Cacason recalls later. Now there are 4 people who know where Alicia's body is. Cacason, Belge, another attorney working with Belge, Frank Armani, and the killer, their client. None of them approach police with this information. And so Alicia's body stays where the men found it, and the search continues for her. All of this happens during the fall of 1973, but we have to back up a little bit before this and come back to it later on in the episode in order to get a clearer picture of this entire story. So let's go back to May 31st, 1973, Memorial Day weekend, a few months before Alicia goes missing. A guy by the name of Robert Francis Garrow Sr., who is 37 years old, is roaming about the northern Syracuse area of New York, heading towards Lake Oneida. If you've ever spent time in this region of New York and the Adirondacks, I don't have to tell you how wide open and secluded most of it is. It's gorgeous country for sure, with pastures and mountains, meadows, and rolling green hills amid roads that snake around all of this beautiful land. There are large and small lakes just about everywhere. On May 31st, two teenage girls are standing around an ice cream stand, just doing what kids do, enjoying a spring day together. Robert Garrow is able to abduct both girls, take them to a remote section of the area, and savagely rape them. Let's go back even further. In 1961, 25-year-old Robert Garrow found himself in a New York courtroom facing first-degree rape charges. He pled guilty, and he admitted to what he had done. The court sentences him to 10 to 20 years, but they cannot even arrange to honor the lower number and parole the guy, an admitted rapist, after serving only 7 years. Garrow has said that he suffered an intensely abusive childhood marred by extreme domestic violence and routine beatings. But we don't care. Because 99% of kids growing up in the same environment don't use it as a later excuse to rape and torture and kill people. So Garrow is cut from a different cloth, which I'll get into a bit later on in the episode. What we do care about is that when courts give a sentence, that person serves at least the lower end of the sentence. Because 10 to 20 years, which Garrow's victims are told at the time of sentencing, should not become 7 to 20 years because the guy enrolled in art class, got some mandated counseling, and worked stamping license plates while in prison. We shouldn't be rewarding prisoners for doing what they are supposed to be doing. It's ridiculous and dangerous to the public. From the time he gets out in 1968, Garrow begins working as a mechanic in Syracuse, and within no time, now back out on the streets, there he is once again out in the community raping women. How many? We will never know. But between 1968 and the summer of 1973, it's a good bet that Garrow has dozens of victims, including many of whom he murdered. The two girls from the ice cream shop are able to identify Garrow after he lets them go. Thank God he didn't kill those girls. A warrant is issued, and Garrow is now on the run. A dangerous psychopath who had just committed a double rape, wanted by the police, is skulking through the Adirondacks, searching for his next victims. And as the months pass and the search for Garrow continues, bodies begin piling up. I'll be right back after a short break. You are listening to Crossing the Line with M. William Phelps, a true crime podcast. If you look at Garrow's mugshot from the late 1960s, he has this kind of New York gangster look crossed with that of a boxer. Pudgy nose, wide face, dark blue, beady eyes, thin lips, and a large comb-over. He speaks with a speech impediment. He has a mom and dad tattoo inside a heart on his left arm and a scar on the inside of his thigh over a foot long. Beyond the rape and murder, the guy has a long history of burglary and attempted robbery, grand larceny, and other crimes. Sounds like a nice fella. The kind of guy you'd like to reward for good behavior after you finally get him behind bars. Certainly not the type of rabid raccoon you want to meet while on a hike throughout the Adirondacks. That is for sure. Garrow is now driving around upstate New York in a Volkswagen Beetle, stopping where he wants and trekking through the vast forest on the run, knowing full well that sooner or later he will be caught. You cannot outrun law enforcement forever. In a situation like this one, it's almost impossible. They have the guy surrounded, basically, in the Adirondacks. By this time, Garrow is completely bald except for a ring of dark hair around the sides of his cue ball-shaped head. He wears those black-framed Zodiac-type glasses that tint when the sun comes out, and he has put on a little bit of weight. His picture is plastered everywhere. Traffic stops are set up in certain sections of the mountains with state police holding shotguns and checking cars and trucks and other vehicles. This is now an old-fashioned manhunt, with helicopters hovering over an area near the Speculator and Wells region of the state in almost the center of the state, heading towards the Great Lakes region, Utica and Adirondack Park, a very large part of upstate New York. And they have no idea where he is. Some reports claim Garrow is an old woodsman who knows how to survive on berries and fish and hunt for fresh game. I think part of that is legend and lore. The idea he is some sort of master criminal who can survive extreme conditions. Not sure I buy any of it. The main piece of information people need to know is that this guy is dangerous beyond belief. You come into contact with him out in the forest, it's a good bet he will try to kill you. Another thing that is for certain regarding this man: the community is terrified. A dangerous murderer and rapist is lurking somewhere, striking at will, and nobody has any clue where he will turn up next. No longer are they searching for a rapist who ran out on a warrant. By July 14th, Garrow is wanted on double murder charges, and law enforcement still does not yet know that he murdered Alicia Houck, whose body, if you recall at the beginning of the episode, was discovered dismembered but never reported. Not far from where he has family, as he is working his way through the woods like Rambo, Garrow comes across a young couple who are camping: Daniel Porter and Susan Petz. And this is where those double murder charges stem from. Here are two people enjoying a summer afternoon in the woods, except now Satan is watching them from the shadows. Daniel Porter is from Concord, Massachusetts. Susan Petz from Skokie, Illinois. Both attended Boston schools. Daniel, a 22-year-old Harvard grad. Susan, a 20-year-old journalism student at Boston University. The trip up into the Adirondacks was a vacation from the hustle and bustle of Boston and the rigors of schoolwork during a time when AI did not do all the work for students. So there. There is close to 200 state troopers scouring the region searching for Garrow. They know he will reoffend. It's just a matter of time. As Garrow descends upon the camp where Porter and Petz have set up, he is able to gain control of Porter and tie the man to a tree. We can assume that he uses the old "don't do anything or I'll kill you both" type of chatter. In no time, Garrow brandishes a knife and, as Daniel Porter is tied up, pleading for his life, unable to move or defend himself or his girlfriend, Garrow falls into a savage, rage-filled stabbing spree and kills Porter as Susan Petz looks on in horror. Absolutely horrible. Of course, he has other plans for Susan. He grabs her after killing Porter and whisks her away from the area. He has abducted Susan and is going to bring her into the depths of hell only a guy like Garrow is capable of. There's no need to get into the graphic details that follow. Just assume the worst, as Garrow repeatedly rapes Susan Petz at will over the course of several days. Then, on July 24th, he stabs Susan to death and dumps her body in the air shaft of an old mine he stumbles upon in Mineville, which is about an hour's drive north. Remember, this is the same guy that attorney Belge, because of an oath he took, protected, as a search is still ongoing for Alicia Houck, whom everyone believes has run off somewhere. To make matters even more optimistic for family and friends, a series of local girls had gone missing around the same time, and after days, each one of them had either returned home or been located unharmed. So, there is some hope there that Alicia will be found alive, except that her body, with her head cut off, is sitting in a brush-filled ditch in a cemetery. 4 people know this, and none of them have the decency to come forward. I don't see how Callahan was under any obligation to hold that attorney-client privilege oath. I do not know if he had signed something or what Belge told him. Yet the fact of the matter is simple. Sometimes rules need to be tossed out the freaking window for the greater good. Belge knows where her body is, and he tells nobody. He and the others allowed the continued search for her as family and friends hold out hope she will be found alive, knowing she is dead and that his client, whom they are searching for, Robert Garrow, killed her. 5 days after Garrow kills Petz, on July 29th, about 120 miles east of Syracuse now, in Wells, New York, 4 young campers are out in the woods. Philip Domblewski, Nick Fiorello, David Freeman, and Carol Ann Malinowski. 18, 19 years old, 20-somethings, all of whom are from nearby Schenectady, just out in nature, enjoying the summer. Garrow is about 25 miles from where he had murdered Daniel Porter and abducted and later murdered Susan Petz. According to one report, Garrow drives his orange Volkswagen, which he'd been using to get from one area to the next, into a wooded area close to where the 4 of them are camping. He parks his vehicle nearby, gets out, and approaches the tent all 4 are in. He has a gun. "I need to siphon some gas from your cars," he says. "Come on, get out of the tent." They do as they are told, except Phil Domblewski. He ain't having it. "No," he tells Garrow. "No?" Garrow then tells them to start walking and, at gunpoint, shuffles them over to an area deeper into the woods. Using the gun as intimidation, he has each of them tie the other to a tree, one of his chosen MOs. He then walks up to Phil, who reports claim was still hemming and hawing about being threatened with a gun by this freaking lunatic. So Garrow now is standing in front of Phil, and he pulls out a knife and begins to slash him repeatedly across the chest, killing him as the others look on. The devil doing the devil's work. All because he had a rough childhood, if you recall. Yeah, okay, right, buddy. Some people, I will tell you, are just evil, and there is no way that will ever change. They are rotten to the core and will cause chaos and havoc and bring nothing but darkness and death into the world. And a bad childhood has nothing to do with it. It is just who they are, ingrained into their psyche. Robert Garrow is one of those people. As Garrow was killing Phil, the others began loosening up their bindings, a mistake Garrow had made, allowing them to tie themselves up. Thank God. They see what is happening to Phil, break free from their ropes, and bolt. Garrow takes off towards his Beetle Volkswagen, gets in, and drives off, realizing there's no chance of catching or containing them. Within a short period of time, the others make it into town and report what happened. Now there is a large band of armed law enforcement and even men from the town, and they all head into the woods and begin driving the local roads, hot on the trail of this violent, vicious psychopath, serial killer, and rapist. Let's take our second break, come back, and get into the manhunt for Robert Garrow. Trust me on this, we still have a lot more to cover. There are so many twists and turns left, many of which you won't believe. Be right back. I'd like to let you know I have a new book out, the first book I've published in 5 years. It's called They Came for Blood. I have always wanted to write Westerns, a dream since my childhood. Tom Callahan was once President Ulysses S. Grant's deadliest kept secret, a lethal gun for hire leading a team of assassins nobody knew existed. Now those days are over. Or so he thought. Therefore, when the past comes for blood, you either draw first or die trying. Look for They Came for Blood on Amazon.com or anywhere books are sold. Check it out. There's a lot of murder in the book, so it's not a departure from my day job. Two days pass and there are no sightings or any sign of Garrow, who is, I should note, married with one child, and his family has been notified about what he's done and where he might be. It's as if Garrow disappeared into the forest and dissolved into the dirt. They just have no sightings and cannot find this guy. Or he has help. Way up north in the Lake Champlain area of the state, near July 31st, a report comes in that someone has seen the monster. Finally. It makes sense because Garrow has a sister up in the area. Garrow grew up in Witherby near Mineville, west of Lake Champlain and the Vermont border, and his parents lived nearby. This is almost 300 miles northeast of Syracuse, way up north. So he has plenty of people to choose from for help in staying out of sight. There is also a confirmed report of a car being stolen, and law enforcement thinks that is probably the work of Garrow. So they don't know if he's in his Volkswagen or this other car. Perhaps he's even on foot in the woods. They just don't know. What they do know is someone has seen him. Investigators speak to Garrow's nephew. The kid cannot contain the secret. He came here, the boy tells them, about 11:30 last night. I was asleep, but my mother told me what happened. He was not armed. He doesn't want us involved or hurt in any way, and he fears going back to prison. Poor guy. He doesn't want them involved, yet he involves them. Makes perfect sense, if, that is, you are a narcissistic psychopath. On August 9th, with surveillance on his parents' home and other properties Garrow's relatives own, investigators look on as that 16-year-old nephew they spoke to walks out of the house with some food and makes a dash into the woods. There's one conservation officer there that I want to focus on. Her name is Hilary LeBlanc. LeBlanc knows that Garrow is out there somewhere, as do the others. They also spot Garrow's sister bringing supplies out into the woods. So they've got him. LeBlanc is packing a 12-gauge shotgun, a powerful weapon. You just point and spray. They soon surround the area where they think he is holed up like the rat he is. They see some movement. Garrow is, they know, armed and will not come out without a fight. Again, that is just who he is. I mentioned that he is married, and I'd have to ask, who the hell would ever be with that sort of guy? But that is a conversation, I think, for a later time. As they see Garrow hiding in some brush, they send in the bloodhounds to flush him out. The team yells for Garrow to halt and throw down his weapon. He's been on the run now, hiding out, eluding capture for 11 days. This ends today. Right here, troopers decide, one way or another. They can see now that Garrow has a .30-30 Winchester rifle, which is designed for the long shot and accuracy. So the fear is he will start picking off cops sniper-like at any time. As he begins to run, Hilary LeBlanc sees him, and she is close enough to take a shot. She fires at the scumbag, hitting and dropping him. Garrow, however, is still alive. Let's take our final break, come back and conclude this incredible story. You'd think being shot and then going to prison might contain Garrow, but don't go away. There's a few more twists in the works. They will be hunting for Robert Garrow again. You are listening to Crossing the Line with M. William Phelps. A rabid skunk, raccoon, rat, whatever, even when it is injured, can still attack. So, officers keep this in mind as they approach Robert Garrow, who is hurt badly but still alive. I read in one newspaper that when Mrs. Garrow heard her husband had been shot after a reporter called and told her, she burst into tears and started to scream and hung up the phone. Please, spare us the theatrics, really. The guy is a rapist and serial killer. The only downside to the shot LeBlanc took is that it did not hit Garrow in the head and save us all the trouble he will cause from this point on. So Garrow is brought in. He's hurt, but alive. He's charged with first-degree sodomy, sexual abuse, attempted rape, unlawful imprisonment, criminal impersonation, and endangering the welfare of a child. The murder charges will come soon. Several of his family members are also charged with harboring a fugitive, aiding and abetting, and other charges. Garrow claimed to have been paralyzed by the shot Officer LeBlanc took. It was BS, of course, but he played it up and sued the state for $10 million. In exchange for dropping that lawsuit, which was his plan from the get-go, just extortion, Garrow is moved to a minimum security facility. So now you see where this is going. He is then found guilty of second-degree murder in one case and sentenced to 25 to life. In 1978, his transfer comes through. His son is going to see him regularly. They, of course, never watch them because the place is minimum security, and why the hell would you watch a convicted rapist and serial killer? I mean, come on. What could he possibly do from a prison cell, right? His son hands his dad a bucket of fried chicken one day. They do not check inside the greasy bucket. Inside is a gun. Passing him the weapon turned out to be a blessing in disguise for the rest of us. However, Garrow escapes using the weapon and his perfectly fine legs to scale a 15-foot high fence He makes it out into a field and into the woods. As the search team gathers, dogs and close to 200 troopers are brought in. Garrow spends 3 days hiding in the woods surrounding the prison. Then a guard spots him. Garrow takes a shot at the officer. And I just want to say here, some of those same officers searching for Garrow, the ones he is now firing at, would later call him a, quote, nice fella, end quote. Can't make this shit up, I tell you. This time, however, the officer doesn't miss vital organs, and Garrow is hit multiple times all over his body. The psychopath is finally dead, putting all of us out of our misery. Garrow's son is sentenced to 4 years in prison for aiding and abetting the prison escape of his father and faces trial on 3 additional unrelated sex crimes. Incredible. The apple doesn't fall far. In a case that never seemed to end, Francis Belge, remember him, the lawyer who knew where Garrow's first victim was located, was indicted by a grand jury for not saying anything about Alicia Houck. But don't celebrate yet. Turned out Garrow had shared the location of a second body with the lawyer as well. The charges they nailed Belge on were violating the New York public health law where it pertained to the disposal of bodies. The court ultimately dismissed the charges, saying in its ruling that any conversation between Garrow and Belge was, in fact, protected by attorney-client privilege. Now, get this. In 1998, Susan Beso, Robert Garrow's niece, was convicted, in addition to 6 defendants, of torture and murder. Their victim? A handicapped man, Charles Musso. Beso was sentenced to death, executed by lethal injection in 2014 at the age of 59. The other 6 defendants were sentenced to prison. All that violence and mayhem and murder and rape, not to mention what he put all of these victims' families through, perpetuated by one man. Astonishing. And I'll say out loud, because perhaps a lot of you might be thinking the same way. I'm glad he's dead, honestly, so he cannot hurt anyone else. That's it for this week. Be safe. Be aware. Sources for this episode include People v. Belge, County Court Decision, August 1st, 1975. Focus of search for suspect in slaying shifts, Hartford Courant, August 8th, 1973. No clues surface in manhunt, Poughkeepsie Journal, August 9th, 1973. Garrow shot and captured, Finger Lakes Times, August 10th, 1973. Crossing the Line is executive produced by M. William Phelps, LLC, and Matthew Valentinus, Mom's Basement Management. Written by me, M. William Phelps. Audio mastering and mixing by Matt Russell. Music by Epidemic Sound. Original music written and performed by Thomas Mooney, Tom Phelps, and Matt Russell.